that's going to actually be one of the first things I do as a startup. And one of the reasons why I'm interested in this is because long term, I'd really like to do mass customization of footwear, and either as a B2B or as a contract manufacturer. And if I could dream the dream, I'd have my own brand of mass customization covering fashion and sport. And why both? Because I do both. I play soccer and I have to go to fancy events like this. So part of the transition time will be from batch to mass customization. And right now that will actually have a lot of gaps in terms of current processes, materials, tooling, supply chain. And why do I care? So people like me get shoes. And I really would like to be able to buy shoes. So half the women in like the UK survey, they settle for the wrong size because nothing's cute once you're outside of a standard. And since most of you are men here, it'd be like if the only shoe you could ever buy was a 10D. Didn't matter if you were 12, double E, didn't matter if you were an 8.5, the only shoe you could ever buy was a 10D. And so that's why a lot of American women actually have shoes that don't fit. So from my personal perspective, I can't get shoes. I have to wear Birkenstocks. I still wear Birkenstocks. Sports shoes never quite fit because I have to wear men's, and there's always men's colors. They don't make a 7 double E in pink, guys. They just don't. So I did a personal Zappos test. There's 29,000 shoes and 22,000 shoes. Some of it's probably in yours, anyway, lots of closets. But when I look at my size, there's 0. So I go from 22,000 to 0. So that's my personal motivation, which believe me, can motivate you. So it's totally switching gears. They asked me, since I was the first presenter, to go over the 3D body processing committee white papers that are going to be released within the next quarter. One of them is the overview, and so we're developing recommendations for the plug and play for retail, a general approach for file communications, saying these are where all the gaps are. And then we also used a virtual fit example to say, let's go through the process so that you guys have some context as to why we care. The following paper will be on a standards comparison. So that's kind of the nuts and bolts side of saying, what standards can we use? How can we get apples to apples so that we actually know what we're doing, the identification. You'd be amazed at what's the definition of an elbow? What's the definition of a shoulder? What's the definition of hips? There's actually quite a bit of definition of hips. Anyway, and so we should say these are the standards that we recommend. These are the measurements that we like. A lot of the standards have a lot of measurements, but we really only need these top 20. And then procedures to how to determine what's a shoulder, what's a hip, what's an elbow. So part of the slides that we wanted to present today were what are we getting from this committee? And I would say part of the learnings I've gotten is that there's landmarks on a body. I'm used to Seattle, so it's not Mount Rainier and it's not the Space Needle. That people are organic, so they move, there's different materials, they change properties, and the time of day can impact your measurements. And then also better understanding of the industry. Why is the industry where it's at right now? And it also helped me to understand the focus for my business, because one thought was, let's develop scanning. Well, there's lots of scanning. I'm just going to buy scanning. But the manufacturing aspect really needs to be added. And then also to include footwear. It wasn't just apparel, but people can't buy shoes either. And then bringing the customer perspective about how the non-standard of sizes is really annoying, and the manufacturing impact. So if I'm a manufacturer, what's training is available for landmarks and measurements? I don't even know what you're talking about. How to make it so that I know that mine is the same as everybody else's, and how will this actually impact product design? In the industry, they're used to fit models. The fit models go away. What do you change on product manufacturing? It's maybe no longer batch manufacturing from Asia or Africa. Maybe it's in the US. How does that change it? How does the connectivity of databases impact it? Everybody's got the same data now. How does that do it? And then what changes are actually needed to implement made to manage? And what would it take to get the companies ready for made to manage? Made to measure, sorry, made to manage is something else. Made to measure. What would it truly take to get the companies ready? So my key insights have been that data acquisition and standardization is merely the beginning. And then you have to understand that style and usage and perception affects fit. So if I'm wearing pumps, I require greater accuracy than sports shoes. The duration of wear impacts the size of the foot. So if I just get a scan in the morning, but the person's going to use it on the Pacific Crest Trail, how is that going to change it? And how do I get accuracy for that? That the actual person's body impacts, whether it's fleshy or bony, because bones, they don't like to get yanked on, and so they complain. So there's a different level of pain. And customer access, if I'm out in Kansas, am I going to be able to get the same access to a quality scan as if I'm in New York City? How do you address rural versus urban? And then, is the industry truly ready for the first adapters? In that, if I'm desperate and I'm going, I can't buy anything, and I go in to get scanned, I don't want to hear no is the answer. I'm sorry, we don't have your stuff. No, I want to hear, look, we have a product that works for you. And are the manufacturers and retailers truly ready for mass customization? So that's my view of it, and we'll transition on to the next person.
Panasonic.